Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa, welcome on the show. My name is Wally Scott. Too many sporting events, awards, matches happened yesterday. So, of course, we have too many things to show you today. Mukail, I'm sure you saw the World Athletics Awards and Herah. How do these people from Jamaica do it? They go through so many tests, and the guys, WADA, I think they're just expecting the Jamaicans to actually come positive for some stimulants or something, but it's not happening. It didn't happen with Usain Bolt. It hasn't happened with Herah so far.
Well, obviously, when a nation commits the necessary resources to one goal, they can accomplish anything, and they have the athletes to do it.
Let's come back a little home first. We'll go to Herah later on the show. Now, Rohr, the German tactician's reign as the coach of the three-time African champions, is set to come to an end. But he will not be getting severance packages. The Nigerian Football Federation will not pay Super Eagles coach Rohr a severance package, as both parties are set to end their partnership. The NFF will only pay Rohr his wages for the remainder of his current contract, with no severance package. Top NFF sources have said there is no severance package in Rohr's contract. The federation is only obliged to pay him the remainder of his remuneration, and that is what they are working on at the moment. Now, Mukail, first of all, Nigeria is one of the only countries I know who keep the contract of a public servant, like Rohr, the coach of the Super Eagles, in total secrecy. Nobody, no sports representative or reporter in Nigeria can say, I have seen Rohr's contract, and this is what he says.
Well, I mean, it says a lot about the poor administration that has been going on of our football. What do they have to hide, honestly? And why even is Rohr not supposedly receiving a severance package? Because most contracts, it's the norm, it's the standard.
I was going to say that. Now, the NFF have also come out, the our guy as usual, Amaji Pinnick, who will just talk, has come out to say the media just go to their editors and conclude they know these things and write false news.
Well,
you know, and that's funny because I am sure, yes, the media should be sure of these stories before going to press.
True.
However, everybody has come to the conclusion that, listen, the coach of a country, like the Super Eagles, if his contract is terminated in between the contract year, he gets severance package.
True. I mean, like I said before, it's the standard in any industry when it comes to contracts signed. At the same time, this administration lacks a lot of credibility with us. Sure, journalists should do their due diligence, but the fact is, no matter how much due diligence
nobody's talking to us.
They won't talk to us. And even if we have sources within the administration, the head man at the top will just come out and deny any unfavorable stories that are released. So it begs the question, if it's not about the severance package, why is Rohr still in charge, still making decisions, still
being owed money?
He's still being owed money, still sending a 40-man preliminary list to CAF for the competition in January. Why, even if all he's being owed is his salary, why are we keeping him? Because he could get paid his salary at a later date. Yeah. An agreement could be had while he's out of work, out of the office. But as it is, he's racking up more days, more months, and in if so facto, he's earning more salary.
Like Sam Soje said, though, he said that sacking Rohr now, so close to the Nations Cup, might be a blunder. Maybe that's the reason why he's still there. Now, Thomas Tuchel admits that his Chelsea side put in an unusual performance after Hakim Ziyech's winner kept them top of the Premier League following a match that was temporarily halted after a medical emergency in the stands. Chelsea won a hard-fought game 2-1 after a Watford fan suffered a cardiac arrest 12 minutes into the match. Medical staff from both teams raced across the pitch to assist the supporter, who was stabilized and then carried out on a stretcher to be taken to the hospital. Let's leave the heart attack and the guy who had the cardiac arrest, the Watford fan. But Tuchel mentioned constantly that he was not impressed with the sloppy performance of the Chelsea team. Though they won, though.
Yes, Chelsea was sloppy, and Mama said there would be days like this.
Yes, of course.
Games like these do happen, and the testament of any good champion is the ability to overcome them. And
despite all, they still won the game.
And Chelsea is that kind of ruthless, efficient team that can overcome games like these. Throughout the match, Watford pushed Chelsea to the brink, constantly tested them, and even though there were less opportunities for Watford, not to the level that you would expect for all the pressure they were exerting on Chelsea, it disrupted a lot of Chelsea's play. They lost the ball constantly in midfield. Ruben Loftus-Cheek seemed to struggle in the first 45 minutes. Saul got replaced by the 46th minute with Thiago Silva. So effectively, the team had 4 centre-backs in the playing. Before then, Christensen was not Christensen. Sorry, Chalobah was taken off, and then they went back to 3 centre backs and managed to see out the game. It was one of those touchy games where a small team plays with the heart of a big team, and given that Watford's recent form against teams, they've lost a bunch of games, dropped a lot of points, and they still have games to go whereby they're facing Manchester City next. They have a lot of tough oppositions coming up, so setting up themselves now to test the European champions at this stage is a test going forward for the rest of the season, whether they can push their big teams and the teams around them, and maybe here and there still a point or 3.
Now, Olympique Lyonnais suffered their first defeat at home this season after a 2-1 loss to Reims. Now, Carl Kyoko Ekambi's equalizer had cancelled out a Wout-face head-dropper before injury-time drama in Lyon. Alexis Flop's long-range shot was parried by Anthony Lopez, with Hugo Ekesile handling the ball home in the 93rd minute. The defeat means Lyon have dropped to 10th and now sit 6 points outside the all-important top 3. I spoke about this at the beginning of the show. Somebody has to stop this lady. Her name is Elaine Thompson Herah. She's from Jamaica. And of course, Norway's Karsten Warholm were crowned World Athletes of the Year after both produced astonishing groundbreaking performances at the Olympic Games and beyond. Thompson Herah became the first woman to win back-to-back Olympic sprint doubles when she retained 100 meters and 200 meters titles in Tokyo and capped memorable games with gold in the 4x100 meters relay. Her 100-meter time of 10.61 seconds and her 200 meters time of 21.53 seconds were both the second fastest in history. The Inspiration Award went to Mutsat Essa Bashim of Qatar and Italian Gianmarco Tamberi, who shared top step on the Tokyo Olympic high jump podium, when after both finished on 2.37 meters, Bashim asked officials, "Can we have 2 gold medals?" American Olympic 800 meters champion Athin Mu won the Female Rising Star Award, while fellow American 17-year-old 200 meter sprinter Arian Knighton, who knocked off Usain Bolt's under-20 world record and finished 4th in the Olympic final, took the men's award. Another Jamaican making waves. And that was Usain Bolt in a female form. She gets the double-double. That's what they call it in Tokyo. 100 meters, 200 meters. The second fastest race win in history.
If she's young enough, because sports is such a funny thing. What is young for some is old for another. If she's young enough and she has the appetite for it, she could go for a triple double. It's like he said, we love history and sports. One day it will be one of athletics, and specifically will one day be one of the last things that we will look back to and say, this is what they did in this generation, in this era. And this is what spoke to who they were, the ambitions and the generational accomplishments they had. And her name, we talk about it now, but it will be greater even in the future.
No doubt.
That even if someone comes along and breaks it, it will take a long time. And that record, when they talk about someone being on the verge of breaking it, they will remember just how difficult it took for someone to come close to doing it, and it will remind us just how difficult it was for someone to set it in the first place.
This athlete is female, and she said that a top leader in China initially started threatening her, that they wanted, was giving, first of all, sexual advances, and then started threatening her. Eventually, she was cajoled into eventually agreeing to a relationship with him, but that deep inside her heart, she did not want a relationship. Her Twitter handle was taken down. The Chinese government was said to have been looking for her, and she disappeared. Nobody could find her. And everybody raised an alarm, and if anything happens to this girl, it's going to be one of you guys up there. Eventually, she was found. She said she was not even hiding. She wanted to take a chill pill. People should respect her privacy and let things be. But let's listen to what happened to her, get the story together, and then we can actually try and analyze this and what women go through in that part of the world. Now, the Women's Tennis Association has announced the immediate suspension of all tournaments in China due to concerns about the well-being of former doubles world #1 Peng Shuai and the safety of other players. The Women's Tennis Association announced it will suspend all tournaments in China immediately. The decision could cost the WTA hundreds of millions of dollars in broadcasting and sponsorship. It comes after sexual assault allegations levied by top Chinese player Peng Shuai against a former top official, Zhang Gaoli, who was once a vice premier in Beijing. The WTA began aggressively expanding into the Chinese market just before the 2008 Beijing Olympics. The privacy of the average girl child in this part of the world is obviously at stake. And of course, people like Peng Shuai, who come out to talk, are labeled and are suspects to get into trouble. One would expect that by now, Peng Shuai should have left that town and gone somewhere else where she can be safer. She's still there. She says she's safe. She's going to public appearances. And I think it's safer if she has to remain in that town, make public appearances. That will be hard for them to take you out. But if you stay there and you keep quiet or you go into privacy, you are easier targets. You are sitting duck, really.
Well, at the same time, I think two considerations must be taken on board. Does she actually want to leave China? Does she actually want to?
She has gone up against a former vice premier in Beijing.
Yes, but we all wish that no matter where in the world we are, whether it's China or Iran or Syria, that we can stand up for our own rights, for our own dignity against the most powerful forces and not be forced to run away from our own homes. If she is one of those who feels that her identity is intrinsically tied to where she comes from, then she might not want to leave. At the same time, there's the question of just how convincing the Chinese government have been, because they've definitely visited her. They've definitely told her to watch what she says.
Yes, yeah.
So
be less vocal.
Yes.
Because I told her that, yeah.
So it begs the question: how convincing have they been, to the degree that she is possibly on the watch list, can't run even if she wants to, and can't be in a safe enough environment to tell her full story? Because there is much more to this. We know she's not going to get a fair investigation, let alone a trial. An inquiry doesn't happen in this part of the world unless the person at the very top is choosing to pursue it against those he considers as political enemies. There have been, in recent years, we've heard of a greater crackdown on corruption in China, but those have all been people who have run afoul of the governing authority, those who are no longer willing to protect them because they've crossed or transcended certain lines. We hope she's safe. We hope if she does want to move, and leave China that she can.
Yeah.
What the WTA has done is very impressive, and it speaks to the fact that they put humanity over profits.
Yeah.
And we hope that they continue to exert the necessary pressure, because we know China will not do the right thing, and they will deflect and obfuscate this issue as though the world has no right, no reason to question their treatment of women, of political dissidents, and Muslim Uyghurs in concentration camps. This whole Olympic period, the Beijing Olympics, the Winter Olympics that we're about to get started on next year, and this particular
it will go down in history for more of sport, less of sports
and
more
more
of drama.
politics and drama. Yes, it shines a bright light like never before.
Thank you very much, Mikhail.
Always a pleasure.
That's all we can take on the show today. Join us same time tomorrow, same station, Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa. My name is Wally Scott. Like I always advise you at the end of every show, if not for anything, at least for your heart, do some sports.